This is a speaking test of the International English Language Testing System taking place on Friday, the 21st of October at MedCity International Academy, Kannur. The candidate is Parvati Venugopal and the candidate number is 2121. The examiner is Sangeeta Gopi and the examiner number is 1234. The center number is MIA003. May I know your full name?
Yeah, my name is Parvati Venugopal.
Yes, and how may I address you?
You can call me Parvati.
Alright, Parvati, may I see your ID?
Yeah, sure.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you.
Parvati, where do you come from?
I come from Kannur, and I was actually born and brought up in Dubai, but I'm settled in Kannur now.
Alright, and do you work or are you a student?
I just recently passed out from my MBA. I did my MBA in Marketing and HR from Amrita University, Kochi.
Okay. Alright, so we are moving on to the first set of questions.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you about advertisements.
All right.
Do you often remember advertisements or commercials that you have seen?
Me being a marketing student, I've always been fond of advertisements. So I actually have a great interest in advertisements and commercials.
Alright, and what do you usually do when an advertisement or commercial comes on TV or the internet?
Usually when it's on the TV, I have a great interest, especially when it comes to food and chocolates or anything that's related to celebrities. I have a keen interest because I kind of relate to the advertisement, and I obviously make sure that I get to know more about the product.
And have you ever seen an advertisement that you really didn't like?
Yeah, when it comes to fairness creams and advertisements which are based upon the color or gender of a person, I kind of disagree upon that.
All right. And would you like to be in an advertisement or commercial one day?
Yeah, I really don't mind. If it's something that's good for the society, then I really don't mind being part of one.
Okay. Moving on to books and reading.
Okay.
Do you read more or less now than when you were younger?
Okay, I'm actually someone who's not that fond of reading because I like something that's more pictorial. So I prefer documentaries or YouTube videos or movies more than reading, actually.
And have you ever watched a film or movie and then read a book about it?
Yeah, I've read Chetan Bhagat books and I've watched his movies later on after reading the book. So Two States, Half Girlfriend, I've done that.
Okay. And when do you have most time to read?
Usually it's very less because, as I told you, I'm not much into reading. But then during my childhood days, I used to read more often back then.
And how often do you buy books?
Very rarely, to be honest. I either borrow it from my friends, or if someone recommends a good book to me, then I read that.
Okay. Moving on to old buildings.
Okay.
Have you ever visited any important old building?
Yeah, I'm actually someone who really loves history, and I actually go to places just to see old buildings. So I've gone to Charminar, I've gone to Mysore Palace, I've gone to Golconda Fort. Yes, I've been to quite a few.
And is there an old building that you would like to visit in the future?
I've never really visited Taj Mahal, so I want to go there one day because it's one of the most beautiful buildings during the 17th century, and I've heard that the architecture is beautiful, so probably one day.
Okay. And do you think it's important to look after old buildings?
I would definitely say that it's very important because it's something that tells us about our heritage and our culture, and it represents our country. So I think it's very important.
Where would you prefer to live in? Would it be an old building or a modern building?
To settle down, I think I would prefer modern buildings because if you look at the maintenance and the technology and development, I think I would prefer living in a new building rather than the old building. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to ask you some questions about learning science.
Okay.
Do you enjoy or did you enjoy science lessons at school?
I used to love biology. I was not that fond of chemistry because I could never by heart the equations. But then, yeah, I don't mind science.
All right. And would you like to know more about science?
I don't mind knowing more about science. I like psychology. So something about the human brain, I would like to know that.
And do you watch science programs on TV?
MedCity IELTS app, a complete learning solution. IELTS listening, reading, writing and speaking module lessons with grammar classes and free practice materials. Get over 50 hours of video lessons. Download MedCity IELTS app now. Available on Android and iOS platforms.
I watch science fictions. I've watched a lot of doctor-oriented documentaries. So yeah, because I come from a family filled with doctors, so I think I'm a little interested into the science field.
And are science museums popular in your country?
I'm actually not very sure about that question because I've not researched much about it, but then I don't think it is
Very popular.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next part of speaking, and
Okay.
I will give you a card.
All
It will
right.
be a task card. You
Okay.
have prompts on it, and
Okay.
you have 1 minute to prepare.
All right.
So this is your prompt, and I'll give you this pencil.
Okay.
You can make notes if you wish to do so. Right? So your preparation time starts now.
Okay.
All right, Parvati, that's the end of your preparation
All
time.
right, yeah.
You now have 1 to 2 minutes to speak on the topic.
Okay.
I want you to describe an occasion when you lost something in a public place.
Okay. Well, I have actually lost something, and it was quite recent. This was when I was with my friends in Kochi. So we just planned for a small lunch. We all were there. It was all my close friends. So we decided to go out for lunch, and then we all got dressed up. We took the car. We drove all the way back to the. We drove all the way to the restaurant, and then we had our lunch. We had a good time, and it was time for us to go home. So we got back to the car, and then we were on our way back to home, back to our house. And then when we reached our apartment, I suddenly realized that I don't have my keys with me. So at first, I just thought that it would either be with one of my friends, or probably it's in the car, or it would be in my bag. We kept searching. My friends kept searching. We went back to the car. And slowly we all started panicking because we kind of understood that we've actually not found the key. And then we decided to go back to the restaurant. So we drove all the way back to the restaurant, and then we went to the place where we sat. We went to the parking area. We asked the people around, and then there was no clue about where the key was. And then we just kept waiting outside because we didn't know what else to do, because I didn't have my spare key with me and my parents were abroad. So the only option for me was to just hope for something good to happen. And suddenly we were just waiting outside the parking area, and a stranger just walks up to me, and then he just took out the key, and he was like, "Are you searching for this key?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I asked him, like, "How do you get it?" And he was like, "When I went to the restaurant, it actually fell from my pocket, and from there he picked it up, but then he didn't know who to give it to because he also didn't know who I was." So after that, after like 2 hours of searching, we finally found the key, and then ever since that day, I've learned my lesson to at least make sure that I have the key with me twice or thrice. So yeah, that's one of the things that I've lost.
All right. Okay, so have you lost this particular key after that?
No, I've made sure to. I've actually kept a spare with me after that. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So, what are the kind of things that people often lose in public places?
I think most often people lose their wallets, their debit cards, their credit cards, passports, and if it's the airport, then their luggage.
Why do you think this happens?
Because I think it's one, maybe they're overfilled with a lot of thoughts in their mind, or else they have a lot of things going on, or else they're not careful about what they've brought up with them, or else they're just in a situation where they're not very careful about what they've gotten. So I think, yeah, it should be that.
All right. And can you tell some reasons why some people lose things more often than other people?
It might be because they're too busy, or they're stressed about something, or they're thinking about something too important that they actually forget about the little things that they carry along with them. And maybe their carelessness as well. So yeah.
Have you seen anything like this happen?
I have actually, especially in the airport. I constantly see people losing out their things. They either exchange their luggage, or they lose out to take one luggage from the counter. So I think it's quite common for people to lose things.
And what do you think people can do to avoid losing things?
Okay, I think one is to make a list of things that they actually carry with themselves, and just to remind people around them like what all is important, especially like if it comes to passport or documents. I think they have to tell the people around as well that they're carrying such so and so things. So just remind them as well that they're keeping it all safe. And I think maybe check once in a while whether if all these things are still with them.
So do you ever have a list like this with you when you travel?
I actually keep it saved in my notepad, like my phone. I make a to-do list or things that I shouldn't forget to take. I actually take a list of that and keep.
All right. And moving on to trying to find things.
Okay.
What are the different ways people can try to find something they've lost?
MedCity IELTS app, a complete learning solution. IELTS listening, reading, writing, and speaking module lessons with grammar classes and free practice materials. Get over 50 hours of video lessons. Download MedCity IELTS app now. Available on Android and iOS platforms.
Okay, I think it's mainly based on what they've lost. So if it's something, they can either pass out a notice or else they can ask the people around. They can go back to where they actually last saw the thing. And yeah, looking around, I think that's the most common way.
Okay, so let's imagine they lose maybe a family member of theirs.
Okay.
Maybe a small child. What do you think they can do to trace the child?
I think you have to first go to the police station and file the complaint saying that the person is missing. And the next step is obviously looking around, ask family and friends, put a notice, put newspaper cuttings out and make it more social and post on social media. I think that's the most fastest way people can get to know.
All right. How useful it is to offer a reward for finding a lost object?
Well, again, it depends upon the thing. If it's something very valuable, I think it's important that a person on the other side is being honest about it and then returning back to us. I think it depends upon what you've lost exactly. If it's something very important to you, I think he deserves a reward based on that item.
And why do people sometimes make a lot of effort to find something they've lost?
Well, when it comes to important things, it's very difficult about first how you received it and the value of the thing that you have for it. Suppose if it's a passport and the entire process of getting a passport, the documentation, the legality behind it, and how important that document is going to affect you in the future, I think all these concerns make it more valuable for another person to find the thing.
Okay, now talking about finding objects from the past.
Okay.
What motivates archaeologists to search for objects from the distant past?
Well, I think history as such is something that shows or tells people about the different steps or stages of evolution and cultural differences, cultural upbringings, and the value that something or someone held or holds like in the current world. I think anything that we have now is all based from the past. And it's very important to know how things were before and how things have changed from what it has been, like what it is now to what it has been before. So I think,
So if I say archaeological objects should stay in the country in which they were found, would you agree or disagree with me?
I would completely agree to it because, again, it's a heritage and it's something that shows the cultural value of that country. And I think one person would be proud to say that something which is of value belongs to a particular country, like whether if it's Taj Mahal or whether if it's something very huge, or a person would be proud to say that, you know, this thing is from this country. So I think it makes a country more important.
All right. And do you think there is anything from this century that will interest archaeologists in the future?
Well, there might be obviously technology. I think the different developments that are taking place now. I think it's supposed to be treasured. Like even if it's a car, or even if you see Tesla, they've gone to like automated services. So I think something of now would obviously be of history in the future. So they would definitely keep up something. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Parvati. That's
Thank you
the
so
end
much.
of your time.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am.
For more such exciting videos, download MedCity IELTS app.